Hi everyone and welcome to this week's video. This week we are in the cutting patches to have a tour of the garden in July to see what is flowering well. And as you can probably see behind me, we've got the first sunflowers coming out just now, which is exciting. We've also got the sweet peas still going strong over there. Lots of lovely annuals. We've got some lovely Alstroemeria growing in the greenhouse. And hopefully I'm going to show you a few ideas today for things that you can grow for summer colour. Easy to grow from seed, but you might not have heard of before. So we've got some lovely miniature snapdragons, we've got some everlasting flowers, so we'll see them a bit later on in the video. But let's start off with those sunflowers and I'll show you what varieties I'm growing in the garden this year. The third week in July has brought the sunshine and the heat to the Scottish borders, and with it the sunflowers. And here you can see the first ones, Pro-Cut Plum, are starting to flower and they look absolutely gorgeous. This one here is fully out, so it's a bit too far gone to cut, but lovely to enjoy in the garden. And here this one, its petals are just starting to unfurl, and that's a better stage to cut at for longest vase life. But they are absolutely beautiful, and I've got some White Knight coming and some Pro-Cut orange ones coming as well. So over the coming weeks with succession sowing we should have lots and lots of sunflowers. And here we've got the sweet peas, which have been doing really well. They have been flowering their sock sauce for the last several weeks since the beginning of June. So we've had a good 3-4 weeks of them now. The stems are getting shorter, but we've got lots and lots of flowers still coming. And when the stems get shorter, I tend to cut a lot of the length of the actual plant, the stems, the tendrils, as well as the actual flowers to go in arrangements, and that lets me have some longer ones in bouquets. This is Flux Drummondy Cherry Caramel, and I really love annual Flux in arrangements in the garden, but it is a bit of a funny one for me to grow. I don't tend to get an abundance of it, so I get a few wiry stems going up with nice flowers on them, but it's never very prolific, and I have pinched them back, but even with that this year, I still am only getting a few stems at a time, and I'd love to crack it, so this is one to work on, but the flowers really are beautiful. So the cornflowers have been flowering away since the end of May, and they've done really, really well. They keep needing continual deadheading to keep them flowering, and this is pretty much a daily job because they do go over quite quickly, especially in the heat that we've had in the last week. So I'm always coming out with a pair of snips. I need to cut quite low down on the stems, just above a set of leaves, so that you can get new longer stems coming through. If you just snip the finished heads off at the top, then you won't get the long stem length on the new flowers that you need for bouquets. But you get cornflowers in so many different colours, as you can see here, so not just the traditional blue ones that you might expect. You can grow an abundance of different purple, white, red, black, blue, all sorts of different colours of cornflowers, and I just love them. I think they're fantastic. I've been using quite a bit of the cornflowers as well to dry to make confetti for weddings, which is a really nice thing to make from flowers in the garden. And here's my finished biodegradable confetti that you can see here, and it's got all sorts of flowers from the garden in it. So I use larkspur, and I use calendula, and I use cornflowers and rose petals, and I naturally dry them, and they last really well and can be used at all sorts of events as well as weddings as a decoration. So one of my favourite summer flowers is Cosmos, but this year it's been really slow to get started. We've not had a huge amount of growth. In the last week it started to be a bit better. We've had some really good sunshine and we have had some warm weather, and I've been watering a lot. So it has started to come on now. And you can see here, this is one of the first ones to bloom this year, and it's Apricota Cosmos, which is absolutely beautiful and a new one for me to grow. I normally concentrate on growing Purity, the white one, and Daydream as well, which has tinges of pink in it, but Apricota is absolutely stunning. And another one that I really like to grow because it's a beautiful colour is Xanthos, and it is a pale yellow lemony coloured flower and slightly shorter stems, but really, really pretty, and it's just starting to come away now as well. So looking forward to seeing lots more Cosmos in the weeks to come. Helichrysums are coming at long last in the garden. They've been quite slow this year to get going. They were faster last year, but I'm starting to get buds on them now. And this is the first flower in the garden that I've seen. So next week and the week after, hopefully we'll start to get some of these great flowers. Since the end of May, we've had some Nigella flowering in the garden, and this is mainly due to succession sowing that is still going just now. So the first ones that I growed from seed in the autumn, they finished flowering back in the beginning of June. But these are all sowings that I did in late winter, early spring, and they're now coming into flower. And there's so many different ones that you can get with Nigella. So I grow dark blue varieties, Persian jewels, Nigella white. They're fantastic in arrangements. I find that the stronger ones on stronger stems tend to be the autumn sown ones. They are still very pretty, but on much more fragile stems and shorter, the ones that I've grown in the early springtime. I've just done a last sowing of Nigella seeds again this week to see if I can get some last flowers at the very end of the season. So it's a bit of an experiment to see if I can sow this late in July, the third week in July, to still get flowers this year. If they don't flower this year, they will put down roots over the winter time and they'll flower for me in the spring next year. So it's not a waste doing it just now. But whether or not we do get the flowers this year or next, we'll have to wait and see. Once Nigella's finished flowering, it produces the most amazing seed pods which can be used in arrangements. So it's always worth keeping them in the garden and not cutting out the flowers when they've ended too soon, because you do get these amazing structural features for your arrangements. Also in the garden this July is Acelia, which is another favourite of mine. The ones that are flowering in July are a succession sowing I have done, which has been direct seed sowing this time, straight into the soil and not into the greenhouse. And they are really easy to germinate once the soil is warmed up, and they are very quick to flower as well. So they are a great flower for adding to bouquets that's a little bit different, and a really easy one to direct sow from a seed in your garden. And I've just done another sowing of them this week as well, so we should hopefully get some flowers in the autumn if the weather's not too bad. So in the garden we've now got the Larkspur flowering, and it's taken quite a while this year to get these flowering. So these are actually autumn sown seeds, which did really well for me overwintering, and I thought that it would be really promising, the Larkspur, this year, but they've taken a very long time to flower, and I haven't had as many flowers as I would have hoped from the number of plants that I did grow over the autumn. But we are getting there now, and we're getting some lovely flowers, so maybe it was just a case of needing to be patient this year, and they finally are coming. And I can see lots of buds on the plants, so we should hopefully get lots of flowers in the coming weeks. Larkspur is great in arrangements. It adds a nice spike in your bouquets, and also I do use Larkspur for drying as well to go in my confetti too. Linaria americana is a miniature snapdragon, and it is a fantastic flower to grow from seed. It's so easy to grow, and it flowers quickly and for a long time. And these are flowers that I have grown from seed directly in the soil back in May when it started warming up. So they have flowered really quickly, and again that shows that you can direct sow in Scotland. It does work, and these are particularly lovely in bouquets. They're just so many different colours that you have. So I definitely recommend having a go at growing Linaria americana, as it is such an easy flower to grow from seed. You can direct sow it, you can sow it indoors, flowers really quickly and for a long extended period over the summer as well, and it's just beautiful. Here's another fantastic flower to grow in your gardens in the summer, and it's Acrilium, everlasting flowers. And they're really pretty. They come in whites and different shades of pinks. Really easy to grow again. These are ones that I've direct sown back in May when the soil warmed up beside the Linaria americana here. And they will give you some lovely flowers for an extended period of time, which are fantastic for drying. So not only do you get to enjoy them in the summer, if you cut them and dry them, you can also have some nice arrangements in your home in the autumn and winter time too. This is the first rudbeckia cherry brandy that I've got flowering in the garden, and rudbeckia are a great flower to have towards the end of the season, so they'll flower for me from now all the way up to the first frost. They are notoriously difficult for me to grow quickly, so from seed to flowering takes a very, very long time for me, so it's definitely one to start off sooner rather than later in the year if you're wanting to get flowers. They do overwinter sometimes if it's mild, so sometimes you can get flowers the following year as well. This is Tritelia, and it is grown from corms in the autumn time and produces these lovely blue flowers on strong stems, and it's got a really great vase life as well. So this is a really nice flower to grow if you want some pops of blue colour in your arrangements. So the third week in July, the lavender is also out in the garden, so that's fantastic for arrangements and for drying for the house. Once it's finished flowering, I need to remember to trim off the faded flower heads to keep the plant looking nice and bushy for next year, and make sure that I only go into the green on the stem, not into the older wood at the bottom. This is Mallow, and it's been absolutely fantastic this year. It's really flowered really well. I've got white varieties and I've got pink varieties in lights and dark shades. The bees have absolutely loved the Mallow this year, and it's actually made cutting it quite difficult because there's just such an abundance of bees on the flowers at any one time. And it is a really great flower for large arrangements, so it grows really tall. It's got nice strong sturdy stems with a profusion of flowers on it, and you'll find that as one or two of the flowers come to an end, then more will come out. So it has always got lots of flowers coming on it, and it'll last really well in a vase. This is one of my summer favourites. It's Acelia the Pearl, and it's really easy to grow from seed. And it's got these beautiful white, delicate, dainty flowers, lots of flowers on the one stem, and it looks beautiful in arrangements, especially in wedding work. So it's one that I want to grow a lot more of next year. The Acrilium milfolium has done fantastically well this year. This is a new batch that I sowed in the autumn. So every few years I will sow new Acrilia. It'll do really well for 2 to 3 years and then starts to get a little bit tired. So it's good to have some new batches and fresh stock coming through. And the colours on this are just absolutely beautiful. So we've got some lovely terracottas and pinks and apricots. Lots of beautiful flowers that you can use as a good filler in bouquets and other arrangements. So beside the Acrilia, we've also got the feverfew, which has flowered its socks off this year. It has just been going on for weeks and weeks, and it has grown really strongly. It has got the most amazing stems on it, and it's been fantastic as a filler in bouquets. And people just love it because of the small daisy-like blooms. Daucus is the most fantastic flower, and it's been flowering for a few weeks now throughout July. Some of the flowers are starting to fade, but when they fade, they curl up and become the most amazing structural features, which you can still use in bouquets. So you have the brand new flowers that you just let mature slightly before you cut them so they don't wilt, and they come in lots of different shades as well. You've got whites and you've got pinky purple ones, so they are fantastic for bouquets. Lovely strong stems. I always get excited when I see that the marjoram, the herb, is flowering in the garden each July. I love using it in bouquets. I like using herbs, and I've got a video on herbs for cut flowers that I made last year if you want to go back and have a look at that. But marjoram's fantastic. It's got these lovely little pink flowers on it, really nice strong stems, and that lovely scent. So definitely worth using herbs in your arrangements if you can. Astrantia has had such a good run in the garden this year. It's been fantastic, and it's flowered the whole way through June and into July. But now it's just coming to an end now. You can see the flowers are just starting to brown around the edges, and they're no longer of good enough quality to use in bouquets. But what you can do is you can cut back your Astrantia now, and you should hopefully get a second flush in September time before those first frosts. This is Anthemis tinctoria kilwai, and it makes the most fantastic cut flower because it's on strong wiry stems with these beautiful yellow daisy-like flowers which close at night and open in the day, and really beautiful in the garden borders as well. It does tend to self-seed a little bit, so you'll find it popping up in different areas of your garden, but you can just transplant it to where you want it to go. I grow Alstroemeria intercancha in the greenhouse, and it's flowering really well this year. So there's a few different varieties, different colours that I can use in bouquets. And the nice thing about growing the Alstroemeria here is that it's protected from the elements. So no matter what's happening outside, I should still get some lovely ones here. It doesn't grow as tall as the other varieties I grow out in the garden for cutting, but it's great for smaller arrangements and jam jars. Out in the flower patch, we've had a slow start on the dahlias this year. I don't know whether it was the cooler weather, cloudy days in June that caused it, and we had quite drying winds as well. We have had some sunshine and some heat in the last few days, so hopefully that will bring them on. I can definitely see some buds coming, but I'm only getting 1 or 2 dahlias out at a time at the moment, out of hundreds of plants. So hopefully next few weeks we'll just suddenly start to see them come all at once. And we'll have to watch out for the slugs and the earwigs, because these are always what get my dahlias every year. So we'll have a look if we can protect those. I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks, but once I come back, I'm hoping that I can get some protection out for all the new blooms that are coming through for the whole of August and September. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, having a look at all those lovely flowers in the cutting patches, and we'll be back in August for another tour to see what is flowering then, and the season will have moved on by then. These annuals will probably be slowing down by August, but we'll have lots of lovely things like rudbeckia and dahlias and chrysanthemums coming through then. Hopefully my cosmos will have got going a bit more by then too, and I'm excited to see the apricota variety of that coming into flower properly. So lots of exciting things to look forward to in August. But for just now, I'm going to enjoy those beautiful July flowers while they're still here, including those fantastically scented sweet peas, which are one of my favourites. I'm going to leave you today with a few pictures of the flower arrangements that I have made this July using all seasonal flowers and foliage from the garden, and also the buckets of flowers I cut from the cutting patch for my local florist to use in their arrangements. I hope you enjoy them, and I'll see you next week for next week's video, which will be how I wrap my bouquets.